Well, as many of you know, I've got a lot of passions, a lot of things I enjoy in life. And I apologize for not being on my channel for a long time. It's been cold outside. So one of those passions, flying my drone, I've kind of had to put on the back burner. But I'm back, and tonight I have a special guest. A friend of mine who co-authored a book with me called The Sixth Angel that you can buy on Amazon for like, I don't know, $11. I don't know. It's a great book, by the way. But Ken Shearer, a friend of mine for a long time, also is kind of an authority and an expert on the Owyhee Mountains, which is one of my favorite places to take the side-by-side. Explore the old camps and go to Silver City and just kind of enjoy the beauty of the Owyhees. Well, there's a lot of stories about legends in the Owyhees, and one of the legends he's going to tell tonight is about Sinker Creek and the lore that has been passed down from the miners and pioneers to his grandfather, who spent a lot of time in the Owyhees, mining, etc. So whether they're true or not remains to be seen, but at least it's a good story. So anyway, here's Ken Shearer, and here's his story about Sinker Creek. I'll see you down there.
So the Sinker Creek tradition and the lore behind it, there's a fun story that I learned from some experience that I had in the Owyhees with my dad. My dad and his father, so my grandfather, were into mining claims. My grandfather was invested in mines in Nevada and Canada, and he had claims in Idaho, in the Hayfork area, and also in the Owyhees. And my dad got involved in a mining claim in the Owyhees called the Great Western. And the fun part about the Great Western is that it was a spur mine that was related to the Sinker Creek Tunnel. And the Sinker Creek Tunnel was created to mine ore or to recover ore from the entirety of the Sinker Creek project, which was near the, I want to say, is the northeastern base of War Eagle Mountain, where an extremely rich gold deposit was found in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. It was one of the wealthiest gold claims ever in the history of the country. An incredible amount of money was taken out of the claim and actually led directly to the wealth of the Silver City area and the Silver City mine claims and the Silver City gold rush. So how it started was a wagon train was traveling west along the Oregon Trail, and there were two directions you could go. When you reached Glenn's Ferry, or the Three Island Crossing area, you could either take the north route or the south route. If you were going into the Treasure Valley in the Boise Basin, you took the north route, you crossed the river at Three Island Crossing, and you went into the Treasure Valley in the Boise River, the northern part of the Boise River. But if you were going to Oregon, you stayed on the south side of the river, and you continued along the Oregon Trail to Farewell Bend, and then off to the Columbia River, and down the Columbia River into generally the Portland area of the Willamette River Valley. So along that route, the southern route, when you were headed to Oregon, there was a popular campsite that had no name. It was just simply a campsite along the river where a creek came out of the Owyhee Mountains and emptied into the Snake River. And this particular wagon train stopped for a night or two. And of course the kids go out to the river to play. They play in the creek bed. They're doing things that kids need to do in order to stay occupied while mom and dad are taking care of the necessities. A couple of days later, the wagon train breaks camp. Everybody heads west. They follow the trail for something in the neighborhood of 2 or 3 days. And they make camp again. And I believe that campsite was at least close to Ontario, Oregon. And the parents noticed the kids playing with a rock. And the father asked the kid, "Where did you get that particular rock?" And the kid said, "You remember that place we camped on that creek up on the river a few days ago?" And the dad said, "Yes, I remember it well." And the kid said, "That's where I found it." And the dad went to the wagon train, the elders, I suppose is what you would call them, and showed them the rock, and everybody said, we're turning around right now, and they went back to that spot because what that kid had found was a gold nugget, and quite a large gold nugget, so the lore says. They went back and they started panning at the mouth of that creek and found an incredible amount of gold in the creek. And they decided to stay and start mining and panning their way up the creek. And the interesting thing, if you know anything about gold, it's a very heavy metal and it sinks very quickly. And the reason that Sinker Creek got its name was because of that rock, which was a heavy rock. They called them sinkers. And thus, Sinker Creek became very famous in the Silver City Gold Rush because that find is what led the miners to the Silver City Gold Strike, which became the wealthiest and one of the highest paying gold strikes in the history of this country.
And Ken, I love that story because
it's fun, yeah.
It's a great story. A young kid discovers gold and shares it with his family, and all of a sudden the gold rush of the late 1800s is born in the Owyhee Mountains.
Yeah.
Now, you also told me a story about the Sinker Creek Tunnel.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting story because we've been up Sinker Creek quite a ways. We've gotten to some beaver dams that we were afraid to disrupt and didn't want to hurt the flora and fauna of the area, so we didn't go beyond. But tell us about the Sinker Creek Tunnel.
Well, the tunnel was created as a horizontal outlet for the ore that was discovered on the top of the mountain. The people who discovered the Sinker Creek gold, effectively, followed it to its head basically at the base of War Eagle Mountain, and found a quartz ore deposit on the top of the mountain that was an extraordinarily large quartz deposit which contained a great deal of gold. And they wound up selling the claim because they didn't have the capacity to mine such a large quantity of quartz. And so they sold the claim to a mining company, and the mining company, of course, wants to come in and they follow the quartz down, straight down into the ground. And you can only mine down so far before it becomes too expensive to haul the ore vertically out of the pit. So the more economic thing is the gold is up here, and so you mine in from the side of the mountain until you're underneath, and then you mine upward to the top, and then you can follow all the quartz, and it's all little tentacles as it wanders out through the mountain. And in the early 1900s, when they started the project, there was a problem with metal availability because of the war effort, so they did not have the capacity to buy steel track, so they cut an 8-foot by 8-foot hole directly straight back, 6,200 feet, directly back into the mountain.
Wow.
And on one side, at the base, on one side, they cut a 24-inch by 24-inch cut for water to drain out. And that 6 feet that was left was for donkey carts. So they would hook donkeys up to carts, and they would pull carts with donkeys back into the mine to haul the ore out. When they got to the back beneath the head of the quartz deposit and they cut up, all that ore would then fall into the hole, and they would put it out on the donkey carts and haul it out to the ore processing facilities, which they built at the base of the mine. It was very efficient. Once they reached the top, they could just dump everything in, and it would follow a chute all the way down to the bottom, and they just hauled it straight out. So Sinker Creek leads to that spot, and I believe the West Fork of the Sinker Creek comes right out of the side of the mountain, comes right out of the hole, and that's where the water actually comes from. It rains, snows, and the water percolates down through the granite, and if you poke a hole in the mountain, it's like poking a hole in anything that's got a lot of water in it. The water wants to run out. And there's actually quite a lot of water that comes out of the Sinker Creek Tunnel, because they dug 6,000 feet straight back. I've been all the way back in there as far as you can go. And you get back in below that pit, and it's like you're standing in a monsoon. It rains out of the side of the mountain into the pit, and it absolutely pours water out of there. It's pretty impressive.
I love the story about the Owyhees. I'm not kidding you. There's
a lot going on.
Great. And Ken and I were on a topo map on Google Earth. And if you have any interest in this story, you can go to Murphy, Idaho, and go a little bit further east and find the Sinker
Southeast
Creek.
down the highway.
Yeah, down the highway, and it's rather fascinating. Well, any more stories you want to share?
Oh, there's lots of stories, believe me, but no,
That's-
there's snakes and lizards and mice and rats up there, and there's no water, so there's nobody there.
And a lot of miners.
Yeah,
a lot of miners.
Where are the miners? I mean, remember that movie, The Mother Lode? Watch out, those people.
They got their revolver at their side, I can assure you. Anyway, Ken, that was great. I enjoyed it. I'm going to add this to my YouTube channel and share some video with it. And remember, don't forget the book, The Sixth Angel. This is a plug for our book. And we get some pretty good reviews, but I don't think we've sold 1,000 yet, have we?
I think if we've sold 100, we're doing pretty good. It's fun. You should read it.
Yeah, it's a great book. Anyway.
Amazon.
Amazon.com.
See, it'll be even available as an audiobook. I mean, how can you lose?
Yeah, that's it.
Have
That's
some
it.
old
And
guy
it's,
reading
it's
your work.
cheap. It's cheap.
Yeah, $10.
Anyway, thanks for coming by, and we'll share this on our YouTube channel. And until next time, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, guys.